Nelson Mandela, the leader of the African National Congress. He walked out of a prison on a gloriously sunny South African afternoon, and there is general agreement that his freedom begins a new era in South Africa.
In the dying days of apartheid, as South Africa stood on the brink of monumental change, three brothers from India's northern state of Uttar Pradesh saw an opportunity. Little did anyone know that their arrival would set in motion a chain of events that would eventually rock the young democracy to its core. The year was 1993. Nelson Mandela had been free for 3 years, negotiations for a democratic South Africa were in full swing, and the country was opening up to the world after decades of isolation. It was into this landscape of hope and possibility that the Gupta brothers, Ajay, Atul, and Rajesh, stepped off a plane in Johannesburg. Their father, Shiv Kumar Gupta, had a vision. He believed Africa was about to become the America of the world, a land of untapped opportunity, and so he sent his son Atul to test the waters. What Atul found surprised him.
Africa, where recorded history began, is still a youthful and enchanting land of endless horizons and boundless opportunities, of nearly 4 times the size of the United States. Although the Republic of South Africa covers only a small area at the southern tip of this tremendous continent, it is playing the leading part in the modern development of an awakening Africa.
The brothers wasted no time. They set up Sahara Computers, naming it after their family business back in India. From these humble beginnings, an empire would grow. Over the next decade, the Guptas expanded rapidly. From computers, they diversified into mining, air travel, energy, technology, and media. By the mid-2000s, their Sahara group had an annual turnover of about 200 million rand, roughly $22 million at the time. They employed thousands. But it wasn't just their business acumen that was turning heads. In 2007, a political earthquake hit South Africa. Jacob Zuma, a charismatic but controversial figure, ousted Thabo Mbeki as leader of the African National Congress. 2 years later, he would become president of South Africa. And it was around this time that the paths of the Guptas and Zuma began to intertwine. The Guptas claim they met Zuma when he attended one of their company's annual functions. What's certain is that over the next few years, the relationship between the family and the president would become increasingly close and increasingly scrutinized. As their political connections grew, so did the Guptas' wealth. Their compound in Johannesburg's affluent Saxonwold suburb became legendary. A heavily guarded estate of multiple mansions, even boasting its own helipad. But it was an event in 2013 that would first bring their influence into the national spotlight. In April of that year, a plane chartered by the Guptas landed at Waterkloof Air Force Base near Pretoria. This was no ordinary landing. Waterkloof is a military installation, typically reserved for visiting heads of state and diplomatic delegations. The plane was carrying guests for a Gupta family wedding. The public outcry was immediate. How had a private family managed to use a national military asset for their personal event? The ANC called it an abuse of power. The Guptas apologized, but claimed they had done nothing wrong. For many South Africans, however, this was the first glimpse into the extent of the family's influence. But the Waterkloof incident was just the beginning. Over the next few years, allegations would emerge that painted a picture of a family whose tendrils reached into the very heart of South African governance. In 2016, Deputy Finance Minister Makhubisi Jonas dropped a bombshell. He claimed that a member of the Gupta family had offered to promote him to the post of Finance Minister in 2015.
Therefore, let me state the facts on the matter of whether I was approached by non-governmental individuals in respect of the position of Minister of Finance. Members of the Gupta family offered me the position of Minister of Finance to replace the then Minister Nene. I rejected this out of hand. The basis of my rejection of their offer is that it makes a mockery of our hard-earned democracy, the trust of our people, and no one apart from the President of the Republic appoints ministers. Let me also place on record that there was no discussion between the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Ms. Jessie Duarte, and myself on this matter. I've hesitated to speak out publicly on this matter until now, but I feel it is no longer possible to remain quiet.
The alleged offer came with a 600 million rand bribe, about 44 million US dollars. The Guptas vehemently denied this claim. Jonas wasn't alone. Former ANC MP Vichya Mentor alleged that she too had been offered a ministerial position by the Guptas, this time at their Saxon World mansion in 2010. She claimed President Zuma was present at the mansion when the offer was made. Zuma said he had no memory of Mentor, while the Guptas again denied the allegation. These claims ignited a firestorm in South Africa. For many citizens, this was the final straw after years of rumors about the Guptas' undue influence over President Zuma and government affairs. The scandal galvanized South Africans from all walks of life to take action. In an unprecedented display of unity, South Africans from diverse racial, social, and economic backgrounds came together under the banner of Zuma Must Fall. The movement quickly gained momentum, transcending the country's historical divides. White-collar professionals marched alongside blue-collar workers. Students joined hands with retirees. In townships, suburbs, and city centers alike, South Africans of all races, black, white, colored, and Indian, stood shoulder to shoulder, united in their demand for accountability and an end to corruption. The protests reached a crescendo on April 7, 2017, when tens of thousands of demonstrators flooded the streets of major cities across the country. In Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, and Pretoria, the scenes were extraordinary. People who might never have interacted in daily life found common cause, chanting, "Zuma must fall," and "No to state capture." In 2016, facing intense scrutiny, the Gupta family announced they would sell all their shareholdings in South Africa. They claimed this was in the best interests of their business, the country, and their colleagues. But Zuma refused to give in to the pressure. This infuriated South Africans even more. As public outrage reached a fever pitch, Zuma's own party, the African National Congress, began to turn against him. Longtime allies distanced themselves, unwilling to be dragged down by the weight of the scandals. The ANC, once a bastion of support, was now actively pushing for his removal. The threat of a no-confidence vote loomed large. Zuma, the political survivor who had weathered countless storms, realized he was running out of options. The party he had led for so long was preparing to recall him, a humiliating prospect for a man who had once seemed untouchable. In February 2018, after 9 years in office, Jacob Zuma finally bowed to the inevitable.
I have therefore come to the decision to resign as President of the Republic with immediate effect. Even though I disagree with the decision of the leadership of my organization, I have always been a disciplined member of the ANC.
The Guptas eventually fled to Dubai, and in July 2021, Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in prison for contempt of court after refusing to appear before a commission investigating corruption during his presidency. His arrest sparked protests and unrest in parts of the country, particularly in his home province of KwaZulu-Natal. But to this day, neither Jacob Zuma or the Guptas have been held accountable.